Assalamu'alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone, let me introduce myself. My name is Eli Rahayu Setyaningsih. I'm from Accounting Education 2017. And in this video, I want to present my research proposal. And the title of my research is The Effect of Flipped Classroom Model to Self-Regulated Learning Student in Class of 10 Accounting at 48 Vocational High School on Basic Accounting Subject. And before that, I want to say thanks to my thesis supervisor. The first is Mr. Dr. Madi MSI as the thesis supervisor 1. And the second is Mrs. Santi Susanti SPD MAK as the thesis supervisor 2. And the next is the proposal outline about my topic. The first is chapter 1, the introductions, consists of research background, problem formulation, research purposes, and the novelty of the research. And the chapter 2 in the literature review consists of background theory, relevant research, and hypothesis. And in chapter 3 in the research methodology consists of place and time of research, research approach, population and sample, data collection techniques, and data analysis techniques. And the next is the chapter 1, the introductions. The first is the research background. I want to explain about my research background of my research. And the first is Indonesian's education subjectives. Education is an important capital in efforts to advance nations and the country, as well as improve the quality of the human resources. Based on the Undang-Undang Sistem Pendidikan Nasional Nomor 20 Tahun 2003 Pasal 3, education is consciously planned effort in creating a learning process that aims for students to develop their learning the potential so as to create the power of spirituality, self-control, intelligence, personality, morality, and skills needed by themselves in society. And in achieving these educational objectives, formal education in schools is expected to realize students who have an independent attitude, disciplines, responsibility, and care for the interests of the nations and the country. And the second, the learning process during the COVID-19 pandemic. And starting from 2020, countries around the world have been shocked by the COVID-19 pandemic outbreak that infected almost all countries in the world, including in Indonesia. And therefore, the Indonesian government sets the policies on the implementations of teaching and learning activities conducted to online learning. And so, students must carry out learning activities at home through the distance learning pattern. According to POHAN 2020, distance learning is online learning where the teachers and the students don't come to face. And the third is students self-regulated learning is main thing that students must have during the implementations of distance learning. During the learning activities conducted to online learning, students are required to have the self-regulated learning to learn in order to achieve optimal learning objectives. According to MBR et al. 2020, students' self-regulated learning in online learning can be seen from the ability students of manage their times and make use of the existing learning resources. And in addition, students are expected to have self-regulated learning because they don't meet the teacher in the person. And therefore, students' self-regulated learning during distance learning is still not optimal. However, according to HES2T 2020, during the implementations of online learning, students' self-regulated learning has not been so good. So, the teacher should be able to facilitate the students to learning that can increase their self-regulated learning. And the fifth, a less varied and monotone learning model during distance learning. Lack of student self-regulated learning can be caused by several factors. One of them because a less varied and monotone learning model during distance learning. and used by the teacher to deliver materials to students. Yasmin in 2021 says during in the teaching and learning activity where the teacher only give the assignments to students. After the assignment is completed, the students sends the answer to the teacher. And this activity keeps repeating every day, and so that students feel bored and often late to submit the assignments. And moreover, Izati and Kuswanto in 2019, in his research also stated that there are problems in self-regulated learning at SMK Bajang and Ajan that has not been optimal. This is seen when give the assignments by the teacher, students still see and ask difference. In addition, students also have not dared to express their opinions or ask questions during the learning. And students still play a lot and don't pay the attention to the time to learn, and because the learning model does not vary, so that it does not support the learning process smoothly. And based on the problems, teachers should be able to choose the right learning model. One of the learning models that can be applied during the COVID-19 pandemic in this era and can be used in an effort to engage students self-regulated learning is the flipped classroom learning model. Therefore, researchers want to examine the effect of flipped classroom model on students self-regulated learning. And the next is the problem formulations of my research. Based on the background and the research gap, there is a problem formulations. Is there any effect of flipped classroom model on self-regulated learning? And the next is the research purpose. The purpose of this research is to find out the effect of flipped classroom model on self-regulated learning students in class of 10 accounting at 48 vocational high school on basic accounting subject. The next is the novelty of my research. And the first is flipped classroom model, learning model used to measure self-regulated learning. Previous research has not been much research on the effect of flipped classroom learning model on students' self-regulated learning. And the second, the novelty of my research is learning videos as assistants used in flipped classroom model research. In previous research, the how to use was average with learning methods. So in this research, researchers want to try to use learning with the videos. The chapter 2. In the chapter 2 have the literature review of my research, and the first is self-regulated learning. And the definitions of self-regulated learning is by Suhandoko and Su 2020. Defines self-regulated learning is a conscious and continuous effort made by students in achieving their learning goals by improving their own abilities that are adapted to the environment. And the indicators of self-regulated learning, according to Oktarin et al. 2018, said the students who have self-regulated learning can be shown by initiative attitude, able to make decisions, not dependent on others, and responsible, disciplined, and confident. And the next, the flipped classroom learning model. The definitions, according to Chase et al. 2018, defines the flipped classroom learning model a student-focused learning activity where students do pre-class assignments such as watching videos and searching for specific information online to gain basic knowledge, and while in class are utilized for learning activities that can improve their application and mastery of knowledge. And the indicators of the classroom learning model. The first is watching videos. It spreads a learning. And the second, giving questions by students. And the third, discussions. And the fourth, giving text or quiz by the teacher to make sure the students have know about the materials, according to S2T et al. 2019. And the third is WhatsApp-based online learning model. The definitions, But, according to Prasetyo and MS 2021, cite that online learning is a model of learning over the internet to facilitate students learning with diverse learning media online. WhatsApp application is a communication media that allows exchanging message online, sharing files in the form of pictures, videos, phone contacts, and voice message. And this is according to Ngabidin 2021. And the indicators of the WhatsApp-based online learning model, the first is teacher prepares online learning. The second, teacher invites students to join WhatsApp group. And the third, teacher doing attendance. The fourth, teacher presents and explain material through WhatsApp group. And the fifth, teacher sends teaching material. The sixth, teacher provides daily assignments. And the last, teacher provides evaluations and explanations. The next is relevant research of my reference. There are some researches that are similar to research that I will do, including the first is by Ella Priyastuti Mirlanda, Hepsi Nindiasari, and Syamsuri on 2019. And the second, Ahlam Mohammed Al-Abdulatif on 2020. And the third, Lo Karyati and Yelmi Rahmawati on 2021. And the fourth, Rashid Abu Bakar Rashid et al. In 2020. The fifth, Hamid Muhammad Husseini et al. On 2020. The next is the hypothesis. The hypothesis of my research based on the theory and the previous research that has been previously mentioned, the research hypothesis include, is there a difference in self-regulated learning between the flipped classroom learning model and WhatsApp-based online learning model in basic accounting subject? The chapter 3, the research methodology. The first is time and place of my research. Time in August until finish. And the place at SMK Negeri 48 Jakarta, which is located at Jalan Raden Inten 2, nomor 3, RT 8, RW 14, Kelurahan Klender, Kecamatan Durensawit, Kota Jakarta Timur, DKI Jakarta, 13470. And the next, the research method. In this research, researchers using a quantitative approach with quasi-experiment method. The quasi-experiment method was chosen because it could be indicate whether there is an effect in the actions performed when compared to other different actions. In the research design used in this study is post-test only control design. The design involved two class groups, the experimental group and the control group. So, experimental groups are given learning using the flipped classroom learning model, and control groups are given learning using a WhatsApp-based online learning model. This is the post-test only control design. And the next, data collection techniques. The primary data through online questionnaire as an instrument research. Then we'll test it by first validity test and the second reliability test. Populations. The population in this research is all students of class of 10 accounting who studied basic accounting subject at SMK Negeri 48 Jakarta in the 2021/2022 school year consisting of two classes, totaling 72 students. And the sampling technique in this research was the purposive sampling technique with criteria. The first class of 10 accounting who are studying basic accounting subject, and the second class of 10 accounting who have the same characteristics such as subject and teacher. And the sample in this research used two classes, that is class of 10 accounting 1 as an experimental class of 66 students and 10 accounting 2 as a control class of 36 students. And the next data analysis techniques, I use one test analysis requirements, and the second hypothesis test, and the final is statistical hypothesis. The first test analysis requirements, I use normality test to find out if the data you have obtained is normally or not distributed. And the second, homogeneity test to determine whether or not samples taken from the same populations. The second, hypothesis test. This test to determine each of the contributions of partially free variable to a bound variable and to show how far the influence of an explanatory variable individually in describing the variation of a bound variable. The third is statistical hypothesis. Okay, thank you for your attentions and wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.